Israel has been called by God to be His chosen people, a light to the nations. But when Israel failed to live up to this calling, God was compelled to send the nation into exile and slavery in Babylon. Now, the people have returned to their land, but are still suffering. They are asking, "Who are we now? Does God's story with us have a future?" In response, a new history of Israel is crafted, reaffirming the nation's place in God's plan for the world. The earlier history, written in Samuel Kings, emphasized the rule of kings and the control of land. Now, the key point will be the true worship of God in His temple, and following His instructions in the law of Moses. The 4 books commonly known as 1st and 2nd Chronicles, Ezra, and Nehemiah were at first a united work. Together they tell the history of Israel all the way through the exile to the return of the people to their land. The genealogies, or lists of ancestors at the beginning of the book, are a key to its purpose. The carefully crafted lists start with Adam, the first human, to show that God's plan for all of humanity are tied to the story of Israel. From Adam, we are brought to Abraham, and then to the origins of the 12 tribes of Israel. Special attention is given to Judah, the tribe of King David and his line, and to Levi, the tribe of Israel's priests. The families from Israel's southern tribes, Benjamin, Judah, and Levi, that have returned from exile in Babylon, are the people who carry this torch forward. The reign of King David is a key to the whole story. God gives him success in battle against Israel's enemies, but he is remembered most of all for establishing an empire of worship. God is to be honored above all. In Israel, the kind of kingdom God is looking for is a kingdom that puts God first. The temple and the law stand at the heart of this true worship of God. The temple represents the coming of God's new world. The law reveals the path for the community to become God's renewed people. After God revealed that David would be king, it was clear that God was with him. He becomes a powerful and skillful warrior, and the kind of leader that attracts the loyalty of others. David is a fighter and builds his kingdom on the strength of military skill and power. But his heart remains God's first. One of the first things he does after becoming king is to bring the Ark of the Lord into the city of David, Jerusalem. David wants Jerusalem to be God's home, not merely his own. If Israel, after the exile, is to have a future, it will look like the time of David. God has promised to save the world through Israel, but God will save Israel through the Son of David.